I don't have the number. We don't have the Thank you. Yeah. Coach will do the 60 down one. Fifth grade teacher. Yeah.
Ready?
We're about to do coming up. If not, no worries.
Ready?
I just called Miss Elliott to see. I didn't know if Frankie's not feeling right.
I did not know that. Yeah. So it was the absence of questions and an extra question. I mean, no one was hey. It could be.
I just call it Hammy. Hammy's walking down. You look great. I think she's up.
Are you making out yet?
Why me? I'm not fashionable.
I know.
I think there's a point matching the shirt to the slide.
That's pretty good. That gets the right size.
Is there a competition for the outfit?
Apparently not.
There's not.
All right, she's not coming. Okay.
Yeah, but this is like, let's go in, let's wear.
You know, I don't know.
Starting? All right,
Oh, hold on. Let me plug this. Welcome everyone to day 4 of our senior honors thesis defenses. Today we have Emma and Maddie, and should be exciting topics and great presentations. Did some practice runs last night, earlier today. Thank you everyone for showing up, family, friends, classmates, really do appreciate it. And again, it's been great to work with her this year. Another student that first timer in a topic class. I always love that, you know. Zoe coming up in a while, you know, also a first timer. I think actually 1/3 of all the students in thesis, this was their first class under me. So I'm always excited when those seniors take that leap and decide to tackle a difficult project. This is especially relevant today in a post-COVID world, running towards a brighter future, the connection between physical fitness, physical activity, and mental health. Let's give it up for Emma Hancock.
Hi, my name is Emma Hancock, and I will be presenting my honors senior thesis on running towards a brighter future for mental health. I had many key sources that helped me through this project, one of them being 8 Keys to Mental Health Through Exercise by Christina Hibbert. This source had many personal narratives, interesting quotes, and parallels between exercise and mental health. Another key source for my research was How an Age of Anxiety Became an Age of Depression by Alan B. Horowitz. This source helped with how anxiety and depression are related, how the classification changed for the labels of drugs from anxiety to depression. Another key source I used was The Exercise Effect by Kristen Ware. This source showed different ways exercise helped mental health, ways mental health affects an individual, and how motivation to exercise can be quite difficult. Mental illness and its effects. Mental illness has grown in prevalence due to the COVID pandemic and social media usage. Prevalence. The average age of quitting sports is correlated with when mental health issues typically emerge, which shows how large of an impact exercise is having on mental health. Stigma. It is often seen as weird to have a mental illness, which can often ostracize people from their peers. Background. It has been studied since 65 BC, and Marcus Rousseau was the first one to study it. There are many options available to treat mental illness, including therapy, medication, and exercise. Therapy can be quite costly, and medication can have many terrible physical side effects, while exercise isn't costly and does not come with these side effects. In this quote by Christina Hibbert, you can see how stress is terribly affecting many people today. 3 out of 4 doctor's visits are stress-related, and 60% of all illness and disease are caused out of stress. Implications of mental health today. Eliminating gym usage due to fear of COVID made many people revert to a very sedentary lifestyle. This makes fighting mental illness an even more prevalent issue, especially since COVID made anxiety skyrocket. This fight against stress has led to a gain in weight as well, which makes it even harder to be motivated to go out and exercise. The magnitude of the people that are dying compared to before COVID is making the potential for stress and trauma increase exponentially. Children are also feeling the pressure as well, and emotional growth has been stunted from COVID. Effects of biological processes. Self-acceptance is the first thing to be sacrificed when struggling with mental health. Brodmann area 25 is often overactive in people with depression, while neurotransmitters, which are secreted by neurons to signal other cells across the synapse, are often under-effective or not working in people with depression. There are many useful chemicals in the brain that help relieve stress and other mental illnesses, including endorphins, which helps relieve stress and pain, serotonin, which helps with mood, cognition, and reward, dopamine, which helps with motivation and the reward system in people's bodies, and norepinephrine, which increases alertness, vigilance, and memory retrieval. These can all be used in exercise as well. The mind-body connection. Since being fit, viewed as fit in a positive light makes those who are fit feel better about themselves. While on the flip side, it can do the opposite for those who are not as fit and make them more likely to suffer from a mental illness. The process of a person persuading themselves to get up and exercise strengthens their mental health. Having a sense of purpose can exponentially boost mood and mental health. Setting realistic goals can help lead to more satisfaction and leave a feeling of competency. In a study conducted by the Institute of Psychology and Education, women are much more likely to feel dissatisfaction in their body due to society and social media, making it much more prevalent for them to exercise. Stress is often caused by environmental, social, or internal demands, which pressure an individual into the readjustment of behavioral patterns. Disruption of the body's homeostasis in response to a real perceived threat can lead to a fight or flight response, which can make cortisol in the brain travel throughout the body, which can have many terrible physical effects, including rapid weight gain and high blood pressure. Stress can often include symptoms such as heart palpitations, panic, increase in heart rate, blood pressure, perspiration, and energy production of the B endorphin. Other symptoms can include worry, irritability, restlessness, insomnia, anger, hostility, dread, foreboding, panic, and self-esteem. Exercise reduces psychological symptoms and emotional consequences, and having a sense of control makes a large impact. Stress in relation to burnout. According to the National Library of Medicine, the global burden of burnout costs is in excess of $300 billion annually. Burnout is expected to become a global pandemic very soon. Those who strive for perfection in the workplace are much more likely to encounter burnout. Many employers could benefit greatly from encouraging exercise to their employees. Faculty support can lead to less dropout rates in school and in the workplace. Encouraging employees to exercise positively increases the amount of time that they spent working. Burnout can lead to reduced productivity, therefore negatively impacting the work rate of the employees. Also, job satisfaction increases with more exercise, making it much more likely that adults will stay at their current jobs. All of these are reasons that employers should incentivize exercise. In this quote from Gary Koweski, a professor at the University of Pittsburgh, it's talking about the student burnout mean, and it says, the student burnout mean of 4.30 reflected strained perceptions occurring between sometimes and often. Competition. Constant competition adds to stress, and it can eventually lead to overexhaustion. The more competitive you are, the more at risk you are for later health disease due to stress. Coping methods. There are many coping methods, including withdrawing, approaching, denying, or confronting. Perceived control and high self-esteem can also greatly influence stress. Using multiple responses to stressors is better for you than just using one method. As you can tell from this graph, as motivation and coping, the blue and the red, go up, depression, the green, goes down. Stress and exercise. Exercise clears the mind, as shown in a study done by Erica Jackson that demonstrates that people feel calmer after 20 to 30 minutes of exercise compared to those who do not exercise. The number of adults who actually exercise for the recommended time in the US is astronomically lower than it should be. Exhilarating and relaxing provides stimulation and calm and also dissipates stress, and this is what exercise does for people. As quoted by Plato, exercise could cure a guilty conscience. Exercise used to treat stress is comparable to relaxation techniques such as meditation in effectiveness. Going through difficult things together, such as exercising, can bring people together, which helps relieve stress and allows for helping find a support network. Deciding to be more active makes a complete difference because those who have a stronger mental capacity are less likely to be stressed. Depression. There are three main realms of depression, including cognitive vulnerability, biological vulnerability, and personal and interpersonal characteristics. The two main types of depression are major depression and dysthymia. Major depression is often longer lasting and more severe, while dysthymia often has a shorter time period and is less severe. Depression can be quite fatal and is one of the leading causes of mortality. Not coming forward out of fear of rejection from those surrounding them often leads to this fatality. There is a large stigma surrounding body image, especially in females, and this can lead to body dissatisfaction that could eventually lead to depression. Beauty standards can lead to depression as well because they are often fluctuating and unrealistic. Many people also see medication as their only treatment, and they do not want to start that, so they do not seek the help that they need. Substance abuse often leads to a lack of productivity in the workplace. Depression sometimes can lead people to reaching out for the wrong kind of help. In America alone, 3.5 million people reported using alcohol or illegal drugs to help them with their struggles against depression. Teens often reach out for this type of help to self-medicate because of their depression, which can lead to addiction. The stigma of depression may prevent them from getting the right kind of antidepressants, and they often end up addicted to harmful substances. The cost of alcohol and drug abuse has steadily grown and is now $184.6 billion. Bad insurance coverage for mental health has always existed, and exercise can help get rid of the root problem of depression while also helping get rid of substance abuse. Anxiety. 19.1% of adults experienced anxiety in the past year, making it one of the most common mental disorders. 3 types of anxiety include situational, dispositional, and environmental. Many view anxiety as a way of punishing themselves because they feel guilty about being so anxious, making it a continuous cycle. Matthew Bowker, who wrote a book on anxiety, described himself as so sad and frightened, like a child. What is at the bottom of this? A lack of trust, a belief that I will break down and fail and bring pain and shame to myself and my family? Why do I have that belief? Because it is not a belief, but a feeling. You can tell from this quote he is feeling quite helpless and at a loss of control, which are 2 of anxiety's biggest symptoms. Many who face anxiety anticipate abandonment, which makes them closed off and helpless. Effects of procrastination. Fear of failure can lead to not trying. Very little sleep can lead to even worse procrastination and more anxiety, which causes a repetitive cycle. Anxiety is directly correlated with procrastination, and the procrastination that is correlated with anxiety is often caused by guilt. Anxiety diverts attention between many things, therefore making it harder to focus and making individuals do worse on their work. Those who are anxious are also much more likely to be less persistent on their tasks. There are 3 different categories that anxiety surrounding food are generally classified into, including anorexia nervosa, binge eating, and bulimia nervosa. These risk factors impact much of the population. Anorexia nervosa affects approximately 2% of the North American population, while bulimia nervosa affects approximately 4% of the North American population. Symptoms of eating disorders can be pulling back from friends and family, especially in order to exercise more often. Being anxious can lead to bottling up these feelings and lead the person onto a road of denial. This can usually affect the relaxation, self-confidence, self-esteem, and mood of a person. Comments can cause a lot of damage to a person's self-image and eventually lead to an eating disorder. This can lead them to start compulsively exercising as well. Eating disorders can also be associated with depression, just like anxiety symptoms. Anxiety with depression. Depression and anxiety disorders are among some of the most common in all developed countries, but especially the United States. Mental illnesses affect work rate, which can cause a huge loss in the economy. Exercise can improve mood and self-esteem, greatly impacted by the better sleep and more energy associated with it. Anxiety and depression often exist together and can have similar symptoms. In the 1970s through 1990s, anxiety morphed into depression in the population's eyes. In 1962, 12 million were diagnosed with anxiety, while 4 million were diagnosed with depression. In 1976, this flipped, and there were many more depression diagnoses than anxiety. Bad insurance coverage for mental health has always existed. Other physical diseases are seen as more real, which limits the amount of money that insurance is willing to give. The combination of these illnesses can be even more deadly, therefore making it essential that everyone can access the care that they need. In the 1900s, mental illness was seen as a very general thing that did not need to be specified. Lists of general mental illness symptoms were seen very generally, and it could all be treated the same way. This is why people also switched from taking anti-anxiety drugs to antidepressants. Benefits of exercise. Just one exercise session can lead to lower anxiety and cause a feeling of calm. Those who do not exercise are 1.5 times more likely to be depressed. There is also a biological cascade of events that leads to many benefits for those who exercise. Exercise can allow better flow in the brain as well, which makes people feel better. In one study, it was shown that the effects that people were benefiting from by exercising lasted around 27 weeks. This could be attributed to the change in the body's chemicals that accompanies exercise. People with the most severe symptoms for depression and anxiety have been shown to receive the best benefits from exercising. It has been proven that the more often people exercise, the more their anxiety recedes. The mood enhancers that people receive from exercising can relieve depression symptoms. When exercising, self-worth can increase exponentially, reducing depression and anxiety effectively. Exercise education. Doctors have a very limited knowledge of the total effect exercise can cause on mental health, so more research is crucial specifically for this area. Understanding coping and social support mechanisms is a good area for this research to focus on. In addition, researching the effects of exercise on procrastination could lead to a more effective workforce, which could bolster the economy. Although it would not hurt for doctors to prescribe more exercise for those with depression or other mental illnesses, because it could accrue other physical benefits for them as well. Advertising exercise. In addition to growing the knowledge of it, advertising also allows professionals to paint exercise as a stress reliever. It allows the truth to be portrayed because sometimes the public is unaware of how much exercise they actually need. Exercising for a couple hours each week can decrease an individual's risk for mental illness by 44%. Motivation through incentivization. The government should work to find ways to incentivize the public to want to exercise more, to ensure the working class can work for as long as necessary and ensure the health of an aging population. Many governments only focus on individuals who are already obese and or depressed, while in reality they should be promoting these exercise programs as preventative measures. Better insurance for mental health. Insurance companies also have a history of dealing with mental health quite poorly. There are many limits placed on mental health care, such as maximum number of days you can get treatment and a maximum dollar benefit as well. Marketing for maximum profit. Another problem that people face when trying to alleviate their mental health symptoms is false marketing and over-marketing. Diagnostic labels can be deceiving because the people who make them are usually trying to get something out of it instead of just trying to help the people. Thank you.
Did you conduct any interviews? You want to maybe discuss missed opportunities? If you could redo this again and plan to talk to some people in the field, who would you talk to, and were you able to elicit any interviews?
So I did talk to a physical therapist in Hot Springs, and if I could go back, I would definitely incorporate his interview into my thesis. I did not incorporate it because I didn't know which questions that I needed answered at the time. So I asked questions that weren't completely necessary for my topic. But if I could go back, I would definitely interview more people and ask more specific questions.
The Rex section was really, I think, intriguing, maybe one of the strongest sections of the thesis. Do employers incentivize, or is there increase in incentivizing like weight loss or exercise, healthy eating, or is this something the government should be doing or is doing? Is it more the private sector and businesses that need to be doing this more to keep the workforce healthy?
I think currently it is more private business focused, but I think it should be more government focused because it needs to be more standardized and more businesses need to be doing it.
Did you see or hear of any models that were out there, or any programs, employers that were doing this, anything like that?
I did see some business proposals, but I haven't really seen a lot of people that are actually putting it into effect yet.
I know some of the local healthcare facilities do that as a way to bring your insurance rates down if you do X, Y, Z. So.
I know that part of your thesis has been influenced by your own exercise sports. You've been involved in athletics your entire time at PA. So I'm just wondering, as you're looking towards graduation and your future, how this thesis project is going to impact your own relationship with athletics as well as your future studies at university.
Right, so I hope to use this in my daily life. Obviously, I am a cross-country runner, so I have seen the benefits for myself, but I also plan on becoming a physical therapist, and I'm hoping to use this to help not only focus on the physical problems that these people are facing, but also the mental, because injuries can often lead to mental health problems as well.
Job well done. Very good. In all this research, was there any exercises, because we just talked about exercise, is like one exercise better than the other, running compared to resistance training? Do I need to do it, one time a week, like any type of frequency?
So from what I've found, 20 to 30 minutes a day is the recommended amount, and aerobic exercises are usually better for mental health, but that's what I was going to say. If somebody asked me about what I wished I could research more, I wish I researched more into what actual exercises were better, because I just saw an overall aerobic versus anaerobic. Right. But yeah.
All right.
Great job, Emma. I'm trying to, I'm actually relating some of what you talked about today with Allison's thesis the other day in the for-profit medical industry. And I'm wondering, if you can maybe explain why there's such a disconnect between, the benefits of running and, doctors not prescribing or advocating for greater exercise for mental health.
Well, from my research, what I saw was many doctors want the profit that goes through either medications or therapy. Therefore, they'll prescribe that before they'll prescribe exercise. In addition, there hasn't been as much research on exercise, so it also makes doctors more hesitant to prescribe that.
I got a big geo question for her. Let's look at demographics. Is this hitting a particular population more significantly? You mentioned gym usage being down, but I always think, I remember even putting this on the edits, poor people don't have the ability to join gyms, etc. And so does class or race or gender or age influence this more so? I mean, is there a bigger problem within a certain cohort of the population?
Not that I found. I did a bunch of research on elderly population and the population in schools. I didn't do as much research on the like middle age population, but I saw especially the older people were especially affected by the COVID pandemic because they were so isolated, because many of them were retired, and that made their lives much more isolated, which made them face more mental health problems.
And I'm assuming just too early in the post-COVID period to really get like solid data about how this impacted particular age cohorts.
Yeah.
So, has there been any shift regarding, things like meds versus therapy? I mean, everyone wants, the diabetes pill to, or shot, to lose weight quickly. We're always looking for that quick fix. I mean, has there been a push within the community, medical community, et cetera, to try to shift the narrative somewhat, or is it still kind of?
For mental health, not yet, but we have seen that for physical injuries, doctors have been pushing towards prescribing physical therapy before medications or surgery recently. So we're hoping that mental health will follow that path.
Questions from the audience? Get your feet on.
I'm sorry. So I was wondering if in your research you saw a correlation with social media and maybe the increase of bad mental health or even eating disorders, because I think those are like tied in.
Yes, so there was a large correlation between social media and seeing people who with unrealistic bodies because of photoshopping, and that could lead to eating disorders, and over-exercising, which would be one way that exercising could affect mental health poorly.
As an educator, I have a lot of students that are dealing with burnout and just depression and anxiety. So what advice would you give to me as a teacher and also our administration about helping our students?
Well, my advice would be, I know a lot of kids get out of PE for various reasons. My advice would be not to let that happen and to make sure that every kid goes through at least 1 or more years of personal fitness or a sport here at PA in addition to whatever they do outside of school.
At the AD here, you gotta get on there.
Yeah.
So, based on all the research you've done on mental health and like the issues with it, do you think that our school does a good job at with the community program? Do you think we do a good job with helping?
Wow. Okay. Sweating up here. All right. So I think that community has gone away from what it was originally supposed to be, and I think a bunch of communities don't necessarily do what the original plan was for them to do. And I think that if we tied in more exercise-related activities once in a while, I think that could help a lot. And I know that the students might not always be overly ready to do that, but it could help.
We're walking around the football field tomorrow.
That was the plan, yep.
I'll find you one-on-one.
I know a lot of young people feel kind of rejected by exercise because they're not athletic themselves. So how do we generate buy-in from unathletic or people that kind of just don't like exercise as children? How do we integrate that into their lives without kind of making them resent it?
Well, I think a big part of that is the coach. If it's a team sport, I think a big part of that is the coach, and having the coach actually pay attention to every single person and not just the star of the team or the best person. And also having personal, individual sports, allowing them to see those options as well, because many people only see group sports, while individual sports might be better for people who aren't as athletic or, don't really fit into that vibe. Yeah, Doug.
That's softball right here.
Okay.
Can you express how exercise has helped you cope with going to Pulaski Academy.
Yeah, so I've been here for many years, 14 I think, and I started soccer when I was around 3, and I've been doing sports every single year since then, and I can tell you that in the school day, I'm feeling stressed and terrible, but then I'll go to my sport, and then I'll get home and I'll feel so much better, and I'll be able to actually get the work that I need to do at home done because I've had that pick me up. Allison?
Okay, did you get any research done on like is there any research on like the different mindsets of working out? Because I know there's a number of people and like students who like do sports but like hate the sport that they're in, or like work out but like work out for wrong reasons or like because of their eating disorders. So did you like at all see like the different mindsets of working out for that versus like being like having a good mindset, like, oh, this is gonna be great for like my mental health, you know?
I didn't see any research on that, but personally I have some experience with that because there was a couple of years when I was on a team that just brought me down instead of bringing me up, and that affected my mental health in a bad way when on other teams I had been affected in a good way.
Thank you.
What?
I'm gonna jump when you're
Let's put the first slide up and get a photo of the team.
Yeah.
I'm just.